My name is Angela T. Newell, and I am 30 years old. I'm currently packing up 3 years of my life while my now ex-boyfriend's ex-girlfriend blows up my phone with threats, apologies, and then more threats. But let me start from the beginning. Last Tuesday was our 3-year anniversary. I took the day off work, made breakfast in bed, had flowers delivered to his office, and planned a quiet dinner at home. The normal things you do when you love someone and believe you're building towards something real. He seemed happy that morning, even posted the flowers on his story with a heart emoji. Around 2 in the afternoon, while I was at the grocery store picking up ingredients for dinner, my phone started buzzing. Friends texting me versions of the same message, asking if I was okay and if I'd seen what she posted. I knew who she meant before I even opened the app. I pulled up Instagram and there it was, a post from his ex-girlfriend, Sienna, on one of those generic quote backgrounds. 3 years ago, I settled for less than I deserved, but we accept the love we think we deserve at the time. Finally realizing I'm worth so much more. Know your worth. Settling no more. She posted it on our anniversary. The comments were already filling up with yes queen energy, people congratulating her on leveling up. I sat in my car for a full 5 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, letting the words sink in. 3 years. 3 years of me supporting my boyfriend through her lingering presence, through her business ideas, through the quiet comparisons she kept alive. And this was how she framed it publicly. I commented one word. Same. Then I drove home, calm in a way that scared me, and started documenting. See, Sienna had always been very good at portraying a version of reality online that didn't exist. According to her posts, she was a thriving entrepreneur who had simply outgrown people who couldn't keep up. What she never mentioned was who paid for the dinners she posted, the trips she bragged about, the rent she never covered, or the car insurance that wasn't in her name. I wasn't angry. I was clear. I opened my laptop and gathered receipts, bank statements showing my deposits versus hers. Trip confirmations paid from my account. The lease showing my income was the only reason the apartment was approved. 3 years of transfers that were never returned. I posted the screenshots carefully, blacking out sensitive information, and wrote one caption. Funny how settling for less looks like supporting someone 100% for 3 years. Here's to not settling anymore. I hit post and made myself a sandwich. The explosion was immediate. Her friends who had been hyping her post went quiet. Then the questions started. Wait, you paid for the trip. Sienna, is this true? Girl, you said your business was thriving. My phone rang, her number. I didn't even have to answer to know she was screaming. Take it down right now. Take what down? I asked calmly. You know what? That's private information. So was our relationship, apparently, but you made it public first. She tried backpedaling, saying it was just a quote, that I was twisting things, that I was humiliating her. I told her I didn't call her anything. I just showed facts. The conclusions weren't mine. They were hers. By evening, her post was gone, but the damage had already taken root. Her carefully curated image had cracked, and people were starting to look inside. That night, she showed up at my door in tears, not apologetic tears, angry ones. She told me I ruined everything, that her friends thought she was a gold digger now. I told her I didn't say that, I just stopped protecting a lie. She kept insisting it wasn't about me, that the post wasn't personal. I asked her who it was about then. She had no answer, just anger and fear over a reputation built on borrowed money. That was when I realized something that hurt more than the post itself. If 3 years of support was settling for less, then she genuinely believed I was beneath her. And I was done proving otherwise. She kept calling after she left my doorstep, cycling through the same 3 emotions, like they were the only tools she had. Rage, bargaining, rage again. The first voicemail was just her screaming my name. The second was her insisting I was jealous and obsessed, that I had been waiting for a reason to embarrass her. The third tried to sound composed, like she was suddenly above it all, saying I'd crossed a line and she'd be talking to a lawyer. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The comments under my post were doing what my voice would have done, only louder and with more witnesses. People were asking questions she couldn't answer. People who had been cheering her on were suddenly uncomfortable because they realized they'd been participating in humiliating someone who had been quietly funding the lifestyle she bragged about. The yes queen energy dried up fast when numbers showed up. My boyfriend came home late that night, and for a second I thought he might surprise me. I thought maybe he'd look embarrassed. Maybe he'd say he didn't know she was going to post something like that. Maybe he'd choose me over the chaos the way I'd been choosing him for 3 years. Instead, he walked in with his shoulders tight and his jaw set like I was the enemy. "What did you do, Angela?" he demanded, holding up his phone like it was proof of my betrayal. I didn't flinch. I posted facts. "You posted her business," he snapped. "You posted our private life." "She posted first," I said. "On our anniversary." She turned it into a public performance. I just refused to be the silent character in it anymore. He paced the living room like he was trying to outrun logic. He said I was vindictive. He said I was humiliating a woman who was just trying to find herself. He said I didn't understand what it felt like to be under pressure. That line almost made me laugh. Pressure was what I'd been living under, the kind that doesn't show up on social media, the kind that looks like covering rent on time and pretending it's normal that your partner's ex-girlfriend is still orbiting your relationship like she owns space in it. Then he said something that made everything in me go still. "You didn't have to take it that personally," he said. "It wasn't about you. It was about her growth." I stared at him and felt the last thread of hope snap. A post about settling for less on our anniversary wasn't about me. That was what he was actually saying to my face. 3 years of my life reduced to a prop in someone else's branding moment, and he expected me to smile through it. That's when I made the decision out loud. "I'm done," I said. He stopped pacing like the words didn't make sense. "Done with what?" "Us," I said. "We're over." He scoffed, like I'd just threatened to quit a job I couldn't afford to lose. "You can't break up with me over a social media post." "I'm not," I said evenly. "I'm breaking up with you because you genuinely think I'm less than. The post just exposed it." His face changed, not into sadness, not into regret, but into panic. The entitlement surfaced the second he realized I wasn't just upset, I was leaving. "Where am I supposed to go?" he asked. "How am I going to pay for things?" That was the moment I knew I'd been right. "That sounds like a you problem," I said. "I'm done settling for someone who doesn't appreciate me." He tried switching tactics, softening his voice, calling me dramatic, saying we could talk it out, saying he didn't mean it that way. But the damage had already settled too deep. I told him he could take the couch, and I went into the bedroom and closed the door like it was a boundary I'd been afraid to draw until now. The next morning, I started the separation process. Not emotional, not chaotic, methodical. I changed the locks because the lease was only in my name. I canceled the cards linked to my accounts. I removed him from Netflix, Spotify, everything that had been quietly paid for while he enjoyed it like it was a right. I packed his things into boxes the way you pack up a chapter you're done rereading. By afternoon, my phone buzzed again. Not him. Sienna. A text dripping with false sweetness. "We need to talk like adults. You made me look like a gold digger. Take your post down, and I'll delete mine permanently." I didn't reply. I didn't negotiate with someone who only wanted the truth erased because it didn't flatter her. That evening, she showed up again, not alone. She brought her friend Rochelle and a man I didn't recognize. They stood in the hallway like a little performance troupe, ready to intimidate their way back into control. "What the hell, Angela?" Sienna snapped, pushing against the door. "Let me in." "Your stuff will be ready this weekend," I said calmly. "I'll text you when to pick it up." "I live here," she insisted. "No," I said, "you stayed here. I live here. My name is on the lease. My income qualified us." The man stepped forward like he'd been waiting for his cue. "Hey, don't be like this," he said, trying to sound reasonable. "Just let her get her things." I looked at him for a beat, then at Rochelle, who couldn't help herself. "He's the guy Sienna's been talking to," she said with a smug smile. "You know, someone on her level." Sienna shot her a look sharp enough to draw blood. And that was the moment I almost laughed. 3 days after calling me less than, she already had a replacement standing in my hallway. Not because she'd moved on emotionally, but because she needed the next person to fund the same illusion. "Cool," I said. "Then he can help you move this weekend." "Not now." They left still arguing, Rochelle muttering about how I was bitter and controlling. Sienna's new man stayed quiet, but I saw it in his eyes. That flicker of doubt. The first crack in whatever story she'd sold him. And just like that, the fight shifted from private to public again, because Sienna couldn't stand losing control without rewriting the narrative. She didn't wait long to retaliate. By the next morning, Sienna had taken the story to every corner of the internet she could reach. Posts in her MLM groups, vague Instagram stories, captions about being sabotaged by an abusive ex who was trying to destroy her business out of spite. She claimed I was stealing her inventory, withholding products she'd built her empire on, and intentionally tanking her reputation because I couldn't handle being left behind. The irony was almost impressive. The problem for her was that lies work best when there aren't receipts, and I had plenty, including credit card statements showing I'd paid for most of that so-called inventory when her cards got declined. So when she blasted a post in one of her big MLM groups about her abusive ex stealing her stock, I responded publicly, calmly, without insults. Happy to return the inventory, I wrote. Just reimburse me the $3,847.23 I spent purchasing it. Receipts attached. The shift was immediate. MLM culture doesn't tolerate financial inconsistency. The comments flipped from sympathy to suspicion in minutes. How are you running a business if you didn't pay for your own product? Why is your ex covering your expenses? You said you were six figures. Her upline tagged her asking for clarification. She went quiet. Meanwhile, the guy from the hallway, Dimitri, decided to insert himself. He messaged me on Instagram like he was doing me a favor. Bro to bro energy. Except I'm not a bro, and he wasn't intimidating. You need to stop harassing Sienna, he wrote. She's with me now. Accept it and move on. I replied once. Congrats on the upgrade. Quick question, though. She mentioned she has no money and needs a place to live. Just checking that you're aware of what level you're actually on. Good luck. He read it and never replied. That same afternoon, her sister called me, sounding genuinely confused. Angela, what's going on? Sienna says you kicked her out and stole her business. I told her the truth without dramatics, that I ended a relationship after being publicly disrespected, that Sienna was getting all her belongings back, that I paid for most of what she called her business. Want to see receipts? I asked. There was a long silence on the other end. Oh my God, she finally said. Has she been lying about money this whole time? An hour later, her mom called, then her dad. The same questions, the same uncomfortable pauses. Apparently, Sienna had been telling her family she was the one supporting me, that I was struggling, that she was helping me out while building her empire, finding out I was a software developer with a steady income, while their daughter had been selling nothing but promises did not go over well. By the weekend, Sienna showed up with a U-Haul, Dimitri, and a look on her face like she still believed this could be spun her way. I had everything packed neatly in the garage, labeled, including a printed, itemized list of what I'd paid for over 3 years. The total sat at the bottom of the page in bold, $74,389.41. What's this? She asked, already defensive. Just documentation, I said, in case you feel like telling more people about settling for less. Dimitri stared at the number like it was written in another language. I could see him doing the math, recalculating the fantasy he'd bought into. Sienna tried one last angle, her voice suddenly soft. Angela, we could work this out. I was just stressed about money and said something stupid. Stressed about money, I said. The money I was providing. 3 years, Sienna. No profit. That's not a business. That's a hobby I funded. Dimitri shifted uncomfortably. Babe, let's just go, he said. Babe, I repeated, amused despite myself. That was fast. They loaded the truck and left. But the collapse didn't stop there. It accelerated. Sienna lasted exactly 4 days with Dimitri before he kicked her out. Apparently, she expected him to immediately take over where I left off. When he suggested she contribute to rent, she lost it. Posted about how men today don't know how to treat a queen. Dimitri commented publicly. Queens build their own castles. You have essential oils and debt. Then he added a Venmo link asking for the $200 she'd promised to pay him back. Public humiliation doesn't get cleaner than that. She moved back in with her parents. Her MLM dropped her for damaging the company image. Accusing someone of theft while owing them money tends to do that. Then she applied for an apartment and listed me as a reference. The audacity almost deserved applause. The leasing office called. Miss Newell is listed as a previous landlord. I corrected them. I paid her rent for 3 years. Would you recommend her as a tenant? I let the silence answer first. Then I told the truth. They thanked me for my honesty. She texted me from her mom's phone, accusing me of ruining her life. I blocked the number. Her mom apologized, exhausted, said they were making Sienna get a job at her cousin's restaurant. Real work, real money. And still, she wasn't done. She lasted exactly 1 week at the restaurant. 1 week before her cousin called her parents and said it wasn't working. Apparently, Sienna spent more time telling customers she was an entrepreneur doing this temporarily than actually taking orders. She tried recruiting diners into her newest opportunity between refilling water glasses. When her cousin told her to stop, she accused him of trying to keep her small and stormed out. Another bridge burned, another story rewritten in her head where she was the victim of people who couldn't handle her greatness. That's when the tax problem surfaced. I didn't hear it from her. I heard it from someone who sounded panicked and very unqualified to be making the call. A woman introduced herself as Sienna's accountant, then corrected herself to say she was actually a friend who helped with taxes. She asked if I could provide proof of the money I gave Sienna for business expenses because there was an audit situation. I laughed out loud, not out of cruelty, but disbelief. I didn't give her money for business expenses, I said. I paid for her living expenses while she played businesswoman. That's not an investment. That's rent and groceries. There was a pause on the line, then a quiet, "Oh." She hung up. Through the grapevine, I learned Sienna had been telling the IRS she made $45,000 last year from her business. In reality, maybe $500. You can't claim income you didn't earn and then not pay taxes on it. Turns out the IRS cares a lot about that distinction. She now owed back taxes, penalties, and interest. The fantasy was getting expensive. Instead of pulling back, she went nuclear. She launched a TikTok series called Surviving Financial Abuse. I wish I were exaggerating. Video after video framed her as a woman escaping a controlling ex who used money to trap her. Her evidence was that I paid for everything. According to her logic, providing support was abuse. Funding her lifestyle was manipulation. The first video gained traction. Sympathy poured in from strangers who didn't know the backstory. Then someone recognized her from the Instagram receipts incident. They posted my original screenshots in her comments. The tone shifted instantly. People dug into her old posts, the trips I paid for, the dinners she bragged about, the boss babe captions paired with zero income. The internet is ruthless when it smells fraud. She tried to spin it, made a response saying receipts were taken out of context and that abuse isn't always visible. She tagged women's support organizations hoping they'd shield her. One responded publicly. Financial abuse is real and serious. Using it as a cover story for entitled behavior diminishes real victims. Please stop. She didn't stop. She escalated again. A GoFundMe appeared. Help me rebuild after financial abuse. Goal $20,000. The description was a masterpiece of delusion. She claimed I kicked her out with nothing, stole her business, ruined her reputation, and left her unable to work. She took everything that night, including items I paid for. I reported the campaign with documentation. GoFundMe shut it down in 12 hours. Then she tried selling a course, Recognizing Financial Abuse Red Flags, $497. The landing page had testimonials from accounts created the same day. When buyers asked for refunds, she blocked them. Complaints rolled in. Chargebacks hit. Her payment processor froze her account. The irony was thick enough to cut. She tried one last angle, contacting my company's HR and claiming I was harassing her online and creating a hostile environment for her business. HR called me in, confused. I showed them everything, her posts, the receipts, the timeline. HR's response was immediate. They sent her a cease and desist letter warning that further contact could result in legal action for defamation. Within hours, her posts about me vanished. But my favorite moment came when a bank called. Sienna had applied for a business loan and listed me as her primary investor and advisor for 3 years. Did I invest in her company? They asked. I answered honestly. I involuntarily funded her lifestyle while she pretended to have a business. That's a hard no. Loan denied. By then, she was out of options. Living with her parents, banned from multiple platforms, working a call center job they had to co-sign for, still posting quotes about rising from ashes and phoenix energy like manifestation could pay penalties. Meanwhile, I was sleeping better than I had in years, saving money, performing better at work. The apartment felt bigger without boxes of unsold inventory cluttering the spare room. She viewed my stories within minutes whenever I posted anything remotely joyful. Then she'd post something about toxic exes flaunting wealth. Wealth I earned while she called me less than. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The contrast spoke for itself. And still, somehow, she found a way to surprise me. The last act of this mess arrived quietly, not with another scream or threat, but with a notification I almost ignored. A LinkedIn alert. Sienna had viewed my profile. It was strange because she'd blocked me everywhere else. But curiosity has a way of slipping through cracks pride can't seal. I clicked through to her page and almost laughed. Her new title read CEO at Phoenix Rising Enterprises. Curiosity got the better of me. I searched the company. It was another MLM, this time selling financial freedom courses for women escaping toxic relationships. The audacity was almost impressive. She'd posted the course outline publicly. Module 1, Recognizing Financial Control. Module 2, Building Your Empire from Ashes. Module 3, Leaving Toxic Support Behind. Module 4, Attracting Abundance. Price $1,197. Payment plans available. I sent a screenshot to a lawyer friend and asked if this qualified as defamation. His response was simple, potentially, but honestly, let her dig her own grave. He was right. Within a week, someone who bought the course posted a warning in a large entrepreneur group. Scam alert. Bought Sienna Romano's course. It's 4 PDFs copied from free blogs and a workbook that's just journal prompts. When I asked for a refund, she blocked me. Avoid. The comments flooded in. Similar stories. Turns out she sold the course to about 20 people. Even with discounts, that was still enough money to catch attention she didn't want. Complaints went to credit card companies. Chargebacks started. Her merchant account froze. Then the IRS came knocking harder. The back taxes she already owed combined with undeclared income from the course made things worse, not better. Her dad called me one evening, sounding older than I remembered. He apologized for everything and asked if I'd be willing to provide documentation of the money I spent supporting Sienna to help show she had no real income. The irony wasn't lost on me. The same receipts she called abuse were now the only thing that could help her avoid jail time for tax fraud. I told him I'd provide documentation only if subpoenaed. I wasn't volunteering to clean up another disaster. The final image of her I saw came from the most unlikely place, Pinterest. A post about starting fresh, living authentic, no longer dimming her light. The image was a vision board filled with luxury cars, mansions, designer bags, and in the center, a photo of a couple that looked suspiciously like us from behind, labeled Manifest True Love. Her cousin texted me, asking if she was really trying to manifest me back after everything. I didn't reply. He followed up saying she'd asked for her restaurant job back, claiming she'd been humbled and was ready to start from the bottom. He told her no. The bottom had already passed. The last I heard, she was doing freelance social media work for $10 an hour, living with her parents, paying off IRS debt in installments, banned from multiple payment processors, still posting motivational quotes about leveling up. Her most recent one said, "The best revenge is massive success." The comments were brutal. Start with mild stability first. Maybe pay your taxes. The IRS is your biggest hater right now. Meanwhile, my life felt lighter. I got promoted. I took that vacation I'd always postponed. I started dating again, slowly, someone who pays for her own dinner and laughs at the absurdity of this whole story. My bank account recovered. My stress disappeared. Looking back, Sienna's anniversary post was a gift. Without it, I might have spent more years funding a fantasy while being told I wasn't enough. She was right about one thing. She did settle for less. Less honesty, less effort, less accountability. Eventually, less of everything when the truth caught up. As for me, I'm done settling entirely. For anyone who thinks I'm less than, there's the door. I'll even hold it open.